Imagine you are sitting in a room with 7 people. On a screen are 3 lines, one short, one medium, one long. The answer is ridiculously obvious. You are asked which line matches the sample line. The first person gives an answer. Wrong. The second person gives the same wrong answer. Then the third. Then the fourth. By the time it is your turn, something strange has happened. You can still see the lines. Your eyes have not stopped working, but your certainty has started to feel lonely. So what do you say? For most of us, the honest answer is uncomfortable. Sometimes we follow the crowd. We laugh at the joke everybody else is laughing at. We like the restaurant with the huge queue. We hesitate before saying, "Actually, I disagree." We see a video with millions of views and it starts to feel more believable before we have checked a single fact. Your brain is not built to ignore other people. It is built to learn from them. If everyone in your group avoids a berry, watches a path, or runs from a sound in the dark, that is information you should probably notice. The crowd is not automatically foolish. Sometimes it knows something you do not. The real problem begins when your brain stops treating the crowd as one piece of evidence and starts treating it as the verdict. Psychologists call this conformity, changing your judgments, actions, or stated opinions to become more like the people around you. And it can happen in 2 very different ways. The first is simple. You follow the crowd because you think the crowd might be right. Imagine you are in a new city, trying to choose a place to eat. One tiny shop is full. Every other shop is empty. You do not know the food. You do not know the neighborhood. The line becomes a clue. Maybe all those people know something. That is called informational influence. Other people become evidence. When the world is unclear, the brain looks sideways. It asks, what are they seeing that I am not? But there is a second force, and this one is more personal. Sometimes you do not follow the crowd because you think it is right. You follow it because you do not want to be the person who makes the room go quiet. You may know a friend is being treated unfairly. You may think a group chat is cruel. You may dislike the plan everyone has agreed to. But your brain can feel the cost of speaking up before you have even formed the sentence. What if they laugh? What if they stop inviting me? What if I become the difficult one? That is normative influence, the pull to match a group because belonging feels good and rejection feels dangerous. Nobody has to threaten you. Sometimes a raised eyebrow, a silence, or the feeling of being the only person on one side is enough. So when you follow the crowd, your brain may be asking, are they right? And will I still be safe with them if I say no? You are not only judging an idea, you are judging your place in the room. In the 1950s, psychologist Solomon Asch created a famous experiment built around that exact discomfort. Participants were shown line-length questions so easy that, alone, people almost never made mistakes. But in the group condition, the other people in the room were working with the experimenter. On certain trials, they deliberately gave the same, obviously wrong answer. Then the real participant answered last. Think about what that moment means. It is not just a test of eyesight. It is a test of what happens when your private perception collides with unanimous public confidence. Asch's studies became famous because some participants went along with answers they could plainly see were wrong. But many resisted, and the experiment was a specific situation, a small group, an artificial task, and a narrow sample from another era. Later research shows that culture, uncertainty, and whether your answer is public all matter.
That last part is huge. There is a difference between saying yes while everyone is watching and changing your mind after everyone has left. Researchers describe this difference as compliance versus acceptance. Compliance is when you publicly go along, but privately keep your original belief. Acceptance is when the group's view actually changes what you believe, even when nobody is there to reward you for agreeing. That means the person nodding along in the meeting may not be convinced at all. They may simply be trying to get safely through the meeting. And you have probably done that too. You say, Yeah, that movie was great, even though you were bored. You agree that a new rule is fine because the conversation has moved on. Going along can be easier than spending energy creating disagreement. But ease has a hidden price. If everybody is privately doubtful and publicly agreeable, a group can start believing that its own opinion is much more unanimous than it really is. Each person thinks, nobody else seems bothered, while everyone else may be thinking exactly the same thing. A crowd can look certain even when it is made of quiet uncertainty. In classic conformity research, unanimity was powerful. But when one other person broke the pattern, the social wall changed. The dissenter simply showed that another answer was possible. You do not have to convince the entire room. Sometimes the first useful move is much smaller. I'm not sure. Can we check that? I see it differently. They turn a fake consensus into a real conversation. But why does agreement from other people feel so powerful in the first place? One answer comes from brain research, with a warning. There is no tiny button in your head labeled conform. Still, disagreement with a group can register as a meaningful mismatch. In one fMRI experiment, people rated faces, then saw group ratings. Conflict with the group was associated with learning-related mismatch signals and later adjustments toward its opinion. In plain language, when your view clashes with everyone else's, the brain may treat that clash like a message saying, "Update? Something may be off." That can be useful. If you are wrong, feedback helps you learn. But popularity alone cannot tell your brain whether the crowd has better evidence or is simply repeating itself loudly. Modern platforms can make repetition look like proof. 10,000 likes, a trending sound, a comment section where the first 50 people say the same thing, a product with 5 stars, a confident speaker surrounded by nodding heads. These can be clues, not evidence. Likes can be bought, trends engineered, and a comment section shaped by who arrived first or what an algorithm buried. So how do you know when to learn from the crowd and when to step back? Try asking yourself 2 questions. First, does this group have information I do not have? If yes, listen. Ask what they know. A crowd of trained people checking evidence is not the same as a crowd copying a headline. Second, if nobody could see my answer, would I still choose this? If your answer changes the moment you imagine being alone, you may not have discovered a better truth. You may have discovered that being different feels expensive. Speaking up can bring awkwardness or exclusion. It can also be one sentence said with a shaking voice. But the goal is not to become someone who disagrees with everything. That is just another kind of crowd behavior, letting the group control you by making you automatically oppose it. The goal is to keep your own mind in the conversation. Learn from the crowd. Check the crowd. But do not hand it the steering wheel. The next time everyone around you seems completely sure, do not rush to prove that you are different. Just pause long enough to ask one question. Do they know something I do not, or am I only afraid to stand alone?